Hello everyone. I want to start this video by making a disclaimer. Although I have a significant voice on social media and I'm very pleased to have that voice, I do not represent the underrepresented. I do not represent the trillions of animals who suffer, although I try my best to be their voice. What I'm saying is that I will never be able to perfectly represent the feelings, the suffering, the heartache, the battles of all these trillions of animals that live under me and live less privileged than I do. I can only try and make the effort to do that, but I will never achieve that goal. Okay, so let's go to the main topic of this video, which is give those struggling a voice. So, if you were to represent the speakers of the world in a very clear format, what would that look like? So, if you can imagine in your mind how the speakers of the world and the media of the world communicate, and the airwaves, you've got limited attention, you've got limited ability to hear and to see or to observe, and you want to graphically depict what you're hearing and what you're seeing within the world. What would that look like? Maybe you'd be able to represent that in a form of art. Maybe you'd be able to reproduce what you hear and what you see in a work of music or art or a graph or a diagram. Which brings me to the question of who are the most eloquent people in the world? So who are the people that have the loudest voices? I can think of a few examples. Tony Robbins, Joe Rogan, Gary Vaynerchuk, Jim Rohn, Oprah Winfrey. All of these people, I believe, are capitalists who operate within ponzi schemes. So they're always encouraging people to do better for themselves. And they're very self-centered and they encourage that in their followers. Also, people, perhaps religious leaders like the Pope, have a very loud voice as well, who encourage people to think in religious terms based on some outdated text. But the interesting question is, why are these people so convincing, where there's people who are most representative of those who are in sufferance and those who are struggling? Why are these voices so less convincing? Communication is a difficult topic, and there are expert communicators, there are professionals who coach in communication, and I think listening to those people solves a little bit of the battle, but very little of, maybe 20% or 25% of the battle. The rest of the battle is listening to those people who don't have a voice, and the responsibility that we have to listen to those who simply cannot express how much suffering they're going through. That includes commodified animals, children living in poverty who have not learned how to speak yet, and children who have learned how to speak who just can't express themselves properly because they don't have the words or they don't have the power or the access to social media that people like I do. So that list of famous people that I mentioned, they have a special capacity to get millions and billions of views, who do not speak for the people, but speak to trick, misinfluence, and drown the people. Now, the interesting thing about all of these people, including Gary Vaynerchuk, who I know quite well, is that they won't say everything that is manipulative or lying or cheating. They will say some things which are good and some things which are bad. And their influence is enough to cause a bad effect in the net effect of what they do. So same thing with me. I mean, I'm not saying that I'm completely absolved of any responsibility in what I say. The things that I say, that I choose to say on this channel, represent who I am and do not represent those countless individuals who are suffering. So I think there are people who are more antagonistic to the status quo and people who are less antagonistic. Gary Vaynerchuk I regard as a somewhat amenable personality. He's approachable, he's friendly, he's got the gift of the gab. But I don't think he has the full, he certainly doesn't have the full gamut of the ethics that I have. And that's why I pick holes in these arguments so often. But people don't listen very easily to that. Uh, they are they are resistant to my message when I speak against Gary Vaynerchuk. So when someone like Gary Vaynerchuk or Susie Vidal, who I also follow on social media, promotes something which is a meat product or McDonald's or something, it obviously makes me very unhappy, and it promotes that cause to billions of people or millions of people. And of course, the CEOs and the executives of McDonald's do not need to speak very loudly in order to be heard. They speak through their advertising, and their advertising is the emotional sway which influences millions and billions of people. I probably should have defined the word voice earlier on in this video, but I'll do it now. Late is better than nothing. Um, my meaning of the word voice is an abstractive one. So it's not the concrete meaning of voice, meaning the ability to speak. You know, having a voice meaning just speaking. My abstractive definition of voice is the means and utilization of expression to promote ideas, especially based in moral interests. Moral interest. That is, when you speak your voice, when you have a voice, you are expressing things which have moral interest to yourself and the people that are listening to you. That's a very important definition. It does not mean just the ability to speak. If it was that simple, it's just too simple a definition than we are actually looking for. So I want you to think very carefully about who you give your attention to on social media and how you divert the misinfluence of those people and make into something better. This is the flowchart of the world. This is the flowchart of the voices and the advertising and the marketing that exists in the world today. If you're listening to people like Grant Cardone and Gary Vaynerchuk and Oprah Winfrey and Tony Robbins and Mel Robbins, all of these people will misinfluence you into the wrong direction. And I want you to think very clearly about who you most listen to, whether you are listening to people who are in sufferance, whether you can hear them at all, and whether you are actually seeing and hearing and observing the sufferance that these people are experiencing. Thank you.